year is 1492. Europe is restless, torn between faith, fear, and the promise of discovery. 3 ships prepare to sail into waters most believed led to the edge of the world, a place sailors called the Sea of Darkness. Among the crew are seasoned navigators, young dreamers, fugitives escaping justice, and men who know they may never return. To them, the ocean was not just a vast unknown, it was death itself. But at the helm stood a man, convinced this journey was not suicide, but destiny. His name was Christopher Columbus, and his voyage would ignite a chain of events that changed history forever. By the end of the 15th century, Europeans saw the world as small, centered on the Mediterranean, surrounded by myths, legends, and unknown frontiers. Great kingdoms competed for control of the most profitable trade routes, especially those leading east, where spices, silks, and precious metals fueled the ambitions of crowns. After the fall of Constantinople in 1453, the Ottoman Empire cut off many overland passages, forcing a desperate search for alternatives. Portugal quickly took the lead. Under Prince Henry the Navigator, expeditions pushed steadily along Africa's coast. In 1488, Bartolomeo Dias became the first European to round the feared Cape of Good Hope, proving that Africa could be circumnavigated on the way to India. His achievement paved the way for Vasco da Gama's later voyage, which reached Calicut in 1498. While Portugal sailed south and east, Spain looked elsewhere, united under Ferdinand of Aragon and Isabella of Castile. Fresh from reclaiming Granada from the Moors in 1492, Spain turned its eyes to the ocean. The Treaty of Alcáceres, 1479, had already granted Portugal dominance over African and Atlantic routes, though the famous Treaty of Tordesillas was still 2 years away. In this climate of rivalry, ambition, and uncertainty appeared Christopher Columbus, a Genoese navigator with a bold proposal: to reach Asia by sailing west, straight across the uncharted Atlantic. To many, the idea sounded impossible. Maps underestimated Earth's circumference, and no one knew a vast continent lay between Europe and Asia. Columbus first presented his project to King John II of Portugal, but it was dismissed. The Portuguese, already making steady progress around Africa, saw no reason to gamble on a dangerous shortcut. Turning to Spain, Columbus met years of rejection from royal advisors and scholars. Yet in 1492, fortune shifted. With Granada conquered and Iberia united under Christianity, the Catholic monarchs were ready to back daring ventures. Encouraged by influential allies and the promise of immense profit, Ferdinand and Isabella signed the Capitulations of Santa Fe. Columbus was granted the title Admiral of the Ocean Sea, appointed governor of any new lands, and promised a share of the wealth. Officially, the mission was to find a western route to Asia, but in reality, it would trigger one of the greatest cultural and geographic revolutions in history. The next challenge was turning this dream into an expedition. In the port of Palos de la Frontera, Spain ordered 2 ships to be provided, while Columbus secured a third with royal support. Thus were gathered the 3 vessels that would make history: the Santa Maria, a large and sturdy flagship chosen for Columbus himself; the Pinta, a fast and agile caravel under Martín Alonso Pinzón, perfect for scouting; and the Niña, a smaller but resilient ship commanded by Vicente Yáñez Pinzón, later refitted with square sails for better ocean navigation. Recruiting a crew, however, proved far harder. Rumors of monsters, endless whirlpools, or even falling off the edge of the world terrified sailors. To ease fears, the Crown offered pardons to prisoners willing to join. while Columbus bargained with seasoned captains and persuaded volunteers with promises of wealth and glory. In the end, around 90 men formed the daring crew, ready or not, to sail into the unknown. Among the crew were seasoned sailors, young dreamers, local fishermen, and even criminals hoping to escape the gallows. Some sought fame, others only a bit of bread and coin, but all shared the same fate. Life on board was harsh and resources scarce. The ships carried enough provisions for several months: salted meat, hard biscuits, wine, olive oil, barrels of water, and dried legumes. The navigational tools were simple yet effective for their time: magnetic compasses, astrolabes, hourglasses, quadrants, and rough maps, many more imaginative than accurate. Their main method of orientation was dead reckoning, estimating course and speed over time. But Columbus carried something no hold or barrel could store: faith. He brought a Bible, letters of introduction, and the unshakable conviction that his voyage was more than a commercial gamble. To him, it was part of a divine mission, not only to open a new path to Asia, but also to bring Christianity to distant lands. And so, amid whispers, fears, and hopes, everything was ready. 3 ships, a handful of men, and an idea bold enough to challenge centuries of fear and ignorance. There was no turning back. The horizon was calling. In the early hours of August the 3rd, 1492, silence cloaked the port of Palos de la Frontera. Then the bells rang out, signaling the start of an unprecedented journey. The night sky glittered with stars as the Atlantic breeze filled the air. On the docks, lanterns flickered as sailors made last-minute adjustments, tying barrels, lifting anchors, murmuring prayers. The small Andalusian town had no idea it was witnessing a moment that would reshape the world. Dressed plainly, yet carrying himself like an admiral, Columbus boarded the Santa Maria. Ahead of him, the Pinta and the Niña swayed gently, ready to follow his command. On deck, sailors tightened ropes and glanced silently at the shoreline that would soon vanish behind them. For many, this was the last glimpse of home, of their villages, wives, and children. Farewells had been rushed, some uncertain if they would ever return. Fear of the unknown mingled with excitement at what might lie ahead. For some, the voyage seemed like suicide, sailing without reliable maps into a sea thought endless, where legends spoke of boiling waters and monstrous creatures. But for Columbus, this was the moment that justified years of persistence, calculations, and faith. That dawn was not only the start of a voyage, it was the awakening of a new world. Just before sunrise, the sails were raised and the ship slipped into the Atlantic. The church bell tolled once more, not in celebration, but in farewell. A few figures on the shore watched as the silhouettes of the vessels disappeared into the misty horizon. At the bow of the Santa Maria, Columbus gazed into the infinite, carrying not just provisions and instruments, but also letters meant for the great Khan, whom he believed, following Marco Polo's tales, still ruled somewhere in Asia. His diary began that day, filled with careful notes of winds, currents, and distances, but also with prayers. Each entry recorded not only the fleet's progress, but also the shifting moods of the men and the signs he searched for in sky and sea. On deck, sailors exchanged quiet glances. Some chewed stale bread, others crossed themselves. Beyond the Canary Islands, the maps ended, and with them, certainty. Ahead lay only sea, sky, and hope. As the sun rose, the coastline of Europe faded, leaving behind the safety of the known world. The first days revealed the true weight of the unknown. Contrary winds and shifting currents tested both skill and patience. Early on, The Pinta suffered damage to its rudder and had to be repaired in the Canary Islands, delaying the crossing. Unease spread among the men. The endless horizon never changed, and the silence of the ocean was unsettling. Provisions, though rationed carefully, sparked constant worry. Nights were haunted by strange sounds, unfamiliar skies, and old fears of sea monsters, bottomless abysses, and the edge of the world itself. The Atlantic seemed vast, eternal, and indifferent. Columbus, however, maintained control with firm words and steadfast prayer. He charted the stars, recorded every detail, and even read omens in the flight of birds, assuring the men that land was near. Weariness, hope, and doubt mingled on board, but none dared turn back. On the deck of the Santa Maria, the admiral watched the horizon with unshakable resolve, knowing that each mile sailed was another line written into history. None of the men realized it, but that morning of August 3rd, 1492, marked the beginning of one of the most important journeys in human history. With every wave crossed, they moved closer not only to an unknown land, but also to the dawn of a new era. The ocean held its secrets and was about to reveal them. But what awaited beyond the Atlantic? What discoveries, conflicts, and wonders lay hidden past that infinite horizon? That belongs to part 2 of this story. If you've enjoyed this journey into the beginnings of Columbus's great crossing, leave a like, share with fellow history lovers, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter.